Hello, happy Friday. Welcome to AI, Artificial Intelligence in Construction. We've got a great group of folks here today to talk to the subject, and really first want to start off with thanking OGCA for putting on such a phenomenal event and bringing together great minds in the industry. And without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and kick things off with a quick introduction of myself, and then we'll flip it to the panelists to introduce themselves and provide a bit of a background on who they are, what they do. My name is Lily Alberts. I work with Procore, and I focus on the Canadian market, helping to educate customers on technology and software within the industry, why a platform is important, and how to continue the partnership and connectivity across the industry. So just because of my view, Milad, I'm going to flip it to you for your introduction.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Milad. I work for Cambria Design Build since 5 years ago. Started as a project coordinator, now manager. And so most of the time we work in industry and commercial projects. And I'm a technology pivot point here in Cambria, so that's why I'm here. Glad you're here. Thanks.
Great, thank you. And then Chris, want to take it away?
Sure. So Kristen, I am the Vice President of Global Partnerships and Alliances at Procore. Before I came to Procore, I spent about 15 years working in the construction industry. Much like Milad, I had a love for technology, so I became the quick point of contact many times for the companies that I was working for, and helped really drive innovation and drive adoption of solutions, not just for the company, but really getting them into the field and making sure people were leveraging them to the fullest of the abilities. And now I have what I think is one of the funnest jobs at Procore, because I get to work with all of the great technologies that are in our industry and figure out ways that we can partner with them to deliver a better experience for our customers.
Beautiful. And last but certainly not least, Niran, want to step in with a quick introduction?
Yes. Hi, I'm Niran, CEO and co-founder of AI. My background is in civil engineering, architecture, and data. Worked for 7 years in construction industry before starting Quant AI, working in all the 3 continents around the world, traveling and working. Quant was basically built on the foundation of increasing safety and productivity, 2 of the biggest problems I saw in the construction industry, using wearables and predictive analytics to help make better decisions. So yeah, excited to speak about AI in construction right now.
Perfect. And before we jump into kind of our first question that I'll put to the panelists, I want to briefly touch on the topic artificial intelligence, AI, and machine learning, ML, as kind of the terms that they are. They can come across and seem as unapproachable, more high-tech areas that the everyday person might not engage with or use. But for the purposes of our conversation today, we're really looking to talk to more how we operationally do use it every day within the construction industry, and how we see it affecting what we do and how we operate. So just a quick reference in kind of bringing AI and machine learning into a little bit more of an everyday context. We've all used, more likely prior to COVID time, ride-sharing apps like Uber and Lyft. And the way that those apps define wait times and the price of your ride, whether or not it's in a surge pricing or how to connect you with a driver, using the algorithms that they have in place to define all of those things. So just a simple way to kind of ground what AI in an everyday context could look like, so we're not approaching it as something that's a little more abstract. And then to kind of bring a little bit closer to home, we're going to start with talking about AI in construction specifically. I'd love to approach it from a more kind of Ontario/national Canadian perspective Chris, how about we start with you? Can you tell me what type of footprint you're seeing AI having within the industry and where it's being used, Ontario, Canada specifically? I think you're on mute.
Probably won't be the first time I do that today, and I apologize in advance. What I was saying there is that, specifically to Ontario, I might not be the best one, and maybe we'll let Milad hit on specifically in that region. But for myself, looking at Canada and kind of in general North America, we're seeing a lot of adoption of artificial intelligence and machine learning. And I think what's really interesting is you're probably using some of it today and you just maybe don't actually know you are. And I think that's one of the things that's beautiful about artificial intelligence is, some of the best implementations of it just make your job easier, right? And so, as we use the example of potentially, Uber or Lyft, the one I love to use is all of us have probably written an email, maybe in Gmail or something like that, and it's basically helping you complete your sentences a little bit faster. All of that is based on artificial intelligence and one of the key forms of it in natural language processing in the background. And so if you've done that, you've had that experience where it's kind of guessing what you're about to finish the sentence with, and you can hit the tab bar and finish a lot faster. That's a great implementation of artificial intelligence. And so when you think about what does that mean for construction and how we're seeing this used on a national level, I'll bring it back to saying, if you're a Procore customer and you've leveraged search across our product, you've actually leveraged artificial intelligence and natural language processing. Because we're not just looking for that very specific keyword that you put in there. We're taking the sentence or the question that you asked and going through documents and actually reading them using that NLP, and then being able to deliver responses to you, right? And so that's a very simplistic form. And we're seeing adoption of things like that extremely widespread. Technology companies are leveraging these AI and ML techniques in the background to make their products better. The flip side of that is the more advanced artificial intelligence, right? Where we're talking about maybe computer vision, or we're talking about prediction. And the beautiful thing about our industry is we've gone through a bit of a digital renaissance, and we're moving much more digital than we ever have before. So what that means is we just have a lot more structured data to train these models on. They don't just know what to look for automatically. You have to teach them. So it's very much like teaching a project engineer or someone fresh out of school what to look for on a job site. We need to teach the models what to look for on a job site as well. And so we're seeing some of these advanced techniques show up specifically around safety and quality issues, basically identifying things that are in photos or in the data that you're collecting on the job site already to give you predictive insights. And maybe I'll hand it off to talk a little bit more about, specifically the Ontario region.
Sure. Yeah. So Ontario is a huge province, and you can have, and in my industry, construction, you can have a project from many hours to the east, north, or west. Sorry. and as Chris mentioned, you have everything available at your hands. And it just takes maybe a few minutes. I mean, I remember my supervisors here, old days, we drove from this end of the province to the end of the other end of the province. So it's a vast area. It's a very, very big land. And now we are managing 10, 12 projects all over the place. And that person is sitting in the office just by one click switch between different projects. And that's amazing. And I can see, as again Chris said, it's just a digital renaissance. It's everything changed drastically last few months or a year, and I can see the change in all the components of the project. Different parties who are involved in a project. That's huge. I think it's amazing that how we are using AI right now in our daily life and day-to-day tasks. I've never seen it in my life, and that's very beautiful. I'm so excited that it's not a good thing in, COVID-19 pandemic, but this change is super, super interesting for me. And I'm just waiting for every day. Oh, now we can do that with the technology, with AI. Oh, that's so easier. And so I'm just waiting, expecting something pop up from myself. Oh, you can do this now. Oh, that's nice. So I'm very curious to see it in a few coming months and years.
Great, thank you. And Niran, as a founder of a company who also focuses on the predictive intelligence, do you want to kind of cap that with your perspective?
Sure. So we have customers all around the world, including a few customers in Canada. So we're excited to be speaking, to the Canadian market right now. As Chris and Milad expressed, we've been like in our day-to-day lives, we've already been impacted by AI in multiple different ways, right? Whether using Gmail or you're using just your phone, using Siri, all different ways we've been using AI. And even in construction, we have already started seeing that value. For ourselves, what we're mostly focused on is on the safety and productivity. So I take an example of more like a Google Maps thing here, where in Google Maps, when you want to go from A to B, it will actually show you multiple different paths and how you can reach from A to B. And it is using historic data. It is using traffic that's real time, and providing you the insights of how long it's going to take for you to go from here from New York to Ontario if you drive there, right? However, in construction, we still haven't figured out a way to find out how long it's going to take, what is your schedule accuracy, how much manpower it's going to take, and how much cost is going to happen. We're still. I think that's where our product, there are solutions right now that are providing this value where you are able to understand how long it's going to take.
We lost Niran for a second there. See if we are able to get him back. Great point. What's that?
Go ahead and talk, Niran. I was hearing him just fine.
Oh, okay. Must be my internet in that case.
Yeah. So I was saying, it's the we making certainty on the project in terms of how long it's going to take for you to build a building in Ontario and how much it's going to cost, and increase in accuracy from a stakeholder, from the owners to the GCs, and that's a big change that's going to come soon.
Amazing, thanks. So overall, kind of in the simplest terms, I'm hearing that ways that AI and data capture and analysis are being used in the industry are through automation, prediction, eliminating repetitive tasks, and creating the ability to increase creativity, problem solving, ultimately for those within the industry. I'm going to slight follow-up question to this, but focus on more specifically Milad, in that you are working for a general contractor. Why should general contractors be interested in AI for their everyday use?
A lot of reasons. So Niran pointed a very important thing. That's for example, the historic data that we have, on. So let's say that we had a project a few years ago. Now we need to know what happened in that project, because we face the same issue right now. And getting that information, getting those problems and how we resolve it, you have to go through a lot of files, even you have the computer in front of you. But with the help of machine learning and AI and automation, you will have it so much faster at just maybe few clicks away. So it's going to help us. And as you mentioned, it's just AI will eliminate the repetitive tasks, the robotic tasks that maybe project managers, project coordinators, different people, trades, and doing at the construction sites or in the office. Now you have more time. Now you have more tools to be more creative, to find the solutions for those problems. Because I believe personally, AI cannot go into that depth very soon, that you can solve the problem that just you found on the project site. But so that would be a project manager, a team of people working on it with the help of AI, with the help of machines, to help you out to have a very smoother move. And so by doing that, you're saving a lot of time. You are saving a lot of, and accordingly, money and a lot of labor and material. So it means in long term, you are more environmentally regarding the project and construction. And by having the solutions faster, you're going to save a lot of time, labor, and material. So you increasing efficiency in long term, which is, I mean, I can see it right now, and I don't know what will happen in a few years. That as I said, I'm super excited to see it. And on the other hand, so you have different components involved, different parties in a project, and you're just, for example, you have accounting and you have production here. A team of construction, and you need, as a project manager, you need to see what's going on both ends. And so you're going to ask for the accounting department that, can I have this information? And then you have some part of information here, or maybe safety department. Now, by having the AI, you can have everything under one umbrella. And again, by a few clicks, you can see, oh, my profit in this project is here, I overspent here, I'm under budget here, or I don't have that document here because of the health and safety stuff, because of Ministry of Labor new rules and regulations. So it's there, and through time, it will be more available, more accessible for you guys, for everyone in the industry. So as a general contractor, I have a lot of benefit right now, and it's super amazing that you can have everything under umbrella, under one program or one whatever you are using your platform. It's very exciting. Yep.
Love that perspective. Chris, Milad started to touch on it when he mentioned trying to bring accounting, financials piece to project teams, right? I'd love your perspective on the platform view and partnership ecosystem, and how that that part of the industry will also see change and benefit for a general contractor.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things to think about if you're a general contractor, and whether you're not using any technology today, or you have 60 solutions on your tech stack, one of the biggest benefits that we're seeing across the industry is the ability to really connect those things, right? And that's really one of the reasons that Procore has positioned themselves and built a strong platform. Is, Niran has a solution that does a great job of managing pool and schedule and productivity on the job site. And that's something that doesn't fall within necessarily Procore's purview, but the data that he's collecting is extremely valuable to you as a user. And so, like Milad said, bringing that together with things that you're collecting potentially around contracts and units of contracting measure. So how many units are we supposed to put in place? How many do we contract for? How many are completed? What's my invoice going to be, right? And so when we're able to merge those data sets together and actually use them as one, we can provide better insights for you as a contractor. So even if you're looking to make your first step into technology for your business, the first thing you should be thinking about is, how will this scale over time? Right? Is this something that I'm going to need to replace and outgrow very quickly? Or is this something that, as I kind of get the itch, because what we see very often is someone will put in place their first piece of technology, and very quickly they're starting to add on other pieces to it because they realize the ROI of leveraging that technology and how it improves the efficiency of their business. And so then they start to add on other things. And you want to make sure those things work together and are not working against each other. That's really important. And when we get into this space of leveraging, artificial intelligence and machine learning, it's a lot about understanding, how do we condition the data that we're getting, and how do we provide you something predictive, like what is happening on the job. Give you a prime example of financials. One of our partners in the ecosystem takes your financial projections, your change orders, your budgets, and they look at that and they provide their own projection of where the cost of the project is actually going to land throughout the time of the project. And so you can compare that to how your project manager is forecasting the job versus what the artificial intelligence is forecasting for the job. And it's almost amazing sometimes to see some of the case studies that they've done on how early on a project manager was projecting that the job was going to come in well under budget. The AI was seeing things that were indicators, change orders, RFIs, submittals, other things that were saying, hey, there is risk here. We're going to predict that risk and how close they end up at the end of the project. And coming from a general contractor background, knowing about that risk and knowing about those cost changes earlier in the process is super valuable, right? Because then you can try and correct it. Then you still have time. It's not you're doing your last cost report as you're handing the keys over to the owner and finding out that, wow, unfortunately, we just didn't make as much on this project as we really wanted to. You're seeing the trends that are saying, hey, it looks like we might not make as much on this project as we want to. What can we do now to reel that in and to course correct and make sure that we can do that with costs? And I know Niran probably has some things to say about this topic because he did a lot from the manpower and productivity side of things, which is another side of how they're leveraging those solutions to say, hey, you don't have enough people here. You're not going to meet the schedule because you're not producing enough. And I'll let him a little bit about that.
Yeah, exactly that, Chris. So that's the we still don't know how much manpower is required to build a construction, like if you want to build an airport or if you want to build a railroad, or commercial building. It's a very guesswork we do. And so when I was working in the industry, I remember, whenever I used to be in this project controls department, when I'm looking at schedules and cost, when you're making a cost and a schedule for a new project, what do? You look at your older schedule. You look at older schedule, and you try to compare the schedule and see if you can actually use that as a reference for the new project, right? For your project, right? For estimation, for manpower, and for cost, right? Now imagine with AI, you're not just looking at one or two schedules that you're comparing in P6 or Microsoft Project, but you're looking at thousands of data that you've collected historically for years and years. And right now at enterprise level customers, we're also learning across companies and providing insights of what is actually the risk on a similar project and different companies. So AI will have that leverage ultimately to use data that is now that is not within your head of scheduling and head of estimation, but your entire office historical data, and not just that, but just the entire database of construction projects that are in a software like Procore. That's going to be big. And we already see the benefits, like where we're providing insights of how many manpower do you need for this site? Do you need 1,600 man hours to build this wall, or do you need 1,800 man hours? And if you know that earlier, then you can plan for labor accordingly. So you're not seeking to have additional workers on the last day. That's a big change we're seeing right now in terms of making sure that, because manpower makes 60% of the construction project, and if you want to make sure your project is getting delivered on time and budget, managing your workforce becomes like one of your biggest things, and that's the exciting part.
And Lily, I want to add one last piece. Sorry, Milad, I didn't mean to cut you off there. When you think about, everybody has that superintendent, that project executive, that foreman that's been in the company for 25, 30 years, right? And when you have the question, you go, hey, we got this project. What do you think this is going to take, right? And so what we're really doing is we're taking that knowledge and that experience, and we're leveraging historical project data to basically create a virtual version of that person. Now, people are like, oh man, they're going to replace our superintendents. No, we're not going to replace your superintendents. Don't worry, right? We have a lot to do here, but there are certain things that machines are very good at. And what they're really good at is math and data, right? And so if you have lots of data, they can crunch the numbers and iteration upon iteration and prediction upon prediction and we can train them to look for these kind of things. And I think where that becomes really, really strong and really meaningful is we all know we struggle to find enough people to do the projects that we have, right? So what if you can take the knowledge from that superintendent that's been with your company for 30 years and help to build a tool that helps all the superintendents that come behind him or her get better at their jobs, right? And that's what we're trying to do with this type of technology. It's certainly not about trying to replace people. It's about trying to make sure that we can actually get the work we have to do done with the people we do have.
For sure. So a lot of what I'm hearing, it's not just about making someone's job easier, more efficient, but really making it more effective and efficient so that you can get the most out of the skilled labor, knowing that it's a hard thing to come across these days.
Exactly. So, sorry, just jump in. That's the whole point, I believe. You can replace the creativity that and experience that people have and the impact that they have. So you're just removing the repetitive work that you need to. For example, you need to staple two papers together. Now, why do you want to do it? I mean, the machine can do it. Why not? So, but instead, you can use your brain, which is it's the source of a lot of good things. Put it towards something good. And as Niran said, and Chris continued, so about the labor of how many manpower, how many hours, how much money you need to build that wall, and that the historic, and Chris continued to the historical data that you have, and it changes through time. So, for example, at the time of tender in practice, at the time of tender when I'm pricing a project, and then my competitive doing the same thing, now I have to win the job, and I need to have that information right away, which is how much it's going to cost to build that building in 4 weeks or in 8 weeks, whatever the project demands. And then you're going to go, oh, my site supervisor cost me $100 a week or $10,000 a week because it's a great site supervisor, or that wall is going to cost me 5 hours to build, so that labor. And that cost is going to change through time. It's just not, you're going to have a unit number, $5,000 a week to your site supervisor for next 5 years or for next year. It's going to change. Most likely about the material, we see that the material costs increase a lot right now. So we have that history available right away. You can adjust your numbers and be more competitive in the market to win more jobs and to have a more cash flow and be more successful in the industry. So it's really important to have those tools available under your hands and in front of you to choose and make decisions more accurately and cautiously.
Yeah, I love that. Putting kind of everyday perspective to the reality that we're in right now. And perhaps a little bit of the elephant in the room and why we're here today talking about this. With the advent of COVID and the changes that the industry has had to make over the past 12 months, I was hoping that perhaps, Niran, you could shed some light on some of those changes that you've seen. I know there's been an acceleration of digitization and adoption of technology, but how have you specifically seen that shift occur over the past 12, 15 months from your perspective?
Yeah, that's a great question. So for us, the change has been like huge, without giving away the numbers, but we've seen multiple folds of expansion in our adoption. Primarily because we are a wearable company, so we have smart badges, and we have wearables that goes on the hard hat, and so suddenly last year in March, April, March, we had a huge demand for social distancing and contact tracing solution. So we saw like thousands of workers adopting that for business continuity, and not just that, but in terms of we know that we're operating on margins that are not really high. Like construction, as a GC subs, like we're operating on margins that are not very high. So the reducing risk and keeping the site open and having a safe working environment became a primary focus of all. The whole industry became focused on that, and some of the customers we have, like, they have a deadline to finish. The owners have a deadline to deliver this factory because you have to deliver the factory within next year because you have other factories, car companies that are competing with you in the same, So business continuity became one of the biggest thing, and the only way to do that would have been to make sure that the job sites were safer and like the people were not getting COVID infections, and so we've seen a huge adoption in that, primarily both on social distancing technology, and as we continue to see, like, increasing safety and productivity, because the margins are so thin, they need to make sure that the people they have can actually deliver the site on time. Yeah, it's definitely been a very interesting change in the industry.
And do you feel like you see a lot of the changes that you mentioned remaining, pivoting to something different? How much of an effect long term do you feel like COVID and social distancing?
So that's a good question, right? So all the customers who were previously using us, as well as the new customers who joined, like more industrial focused customers, like heavy infrastructure focused customers, which needed that business continuity, essential workers, and which in the beginning of the pandemic they had, right? We see all of them adapting this for now for safety and productivity general use case, not just because they've seen we've seen the cat come out of the bag, and now we just now need to continue to build upon this.
Gotcha. Chris, do you have anything to add to that from, again, more of like a partner ecosystem standpoint and seeing a bunch of different versions of the pain?
Yeah, I think what's interesting is, like, we've seen this across many of our partners in the ecosystem, right? And I think one of the things that I really hit home for me is it wasn't that long ago that I was a general contractor. So I reached out to see how they were doing and checked in with my former colleagues. And, it was interesting, some technologies that I had spent 2+ years trying to get them to adopt with little adoption. I had a lot of successes, but I had some failure. That they just said no. And one of those was something like, Microsoft Teams, right? A chat and video tool to collaborate on documents and collaborate on things. And I tried to push this actually into our pre-construction department. And what was really interesting was they were like, it'll never work. We can't trust it on bid day. Too many people editing a live document is risky. We'll submit the wrong number. We can't do it. Have one person own the Excel file. Nobody else touches it. And we're going to bring all our bids into the bid room on a pink sheet of paper when they're signed off by the project manager. This was a couple of years ago, not that long ago, right? And they were still doing it this way.
Person, right?
Yeah, no pressure as you have two bids, you're trying to get that third number in, and the bid's due in 7 minutes, right? So that person who was in control of the spreadsheet was under tremendous pressure. Well, COVID hit, and they couldn't even go to the office. And the bids didn't stop. It wasn't like, we're not going to bid any more projects. We still need the work, right? So they were kind of forced to use the technology. And it was funny because I was talking to the vice president of pre-con, and he kind of got like sheepish on me. We were on a Zoom call. Well, actually, it was a Teams call. And he goes, you were right. And I go, well, can you say that again? He goes, yeah, we should have started using this team things a long time ago. Like, it's made our process so much more efficient. And I said, yeah, it was just, you couldn't get your head past the barrier of the change, right? And we can't undersell the fact that change is not easy, and people need to adapt to that. The great thing about COVID is it forced change, right? And it's opened the eyes of so many of, technology that they were at doesn't seem like it's going to help me. And they're like, wow, I can't imagine not having it this way. And so, COVID's been rough for everybody. It's been rough for construction, project shutdowns, delays in starts. There's a lot of things affecting industry. But overall, I think if we look 5 years from now and we look back at this is probably one of the better things that is going to help move our digitization forward and really drive the industry forward as well.
I love that you found a bright spot in COVID and all this lockdown is. It's forced us to think about things differently. Milad, I saw you smiling and nodding and laughing quite a bit through Chris's sharing. It sounds like a lot of it hit home. I'm dying to hear your perspective.
Yeah, a lot. I mean, I can feel it every second what he said. I felt it through time here. So luckily here at Cambria, we are our gears and everything that we have is top notch, and we kind of were mobile before pandemic because of the programs that we had, and so we were ready when everything started for starting from working from home or social distancing. We kind of had it before, but as Chris said, that we figured out, we have other tools too, such as Microsoft Teams, and it changed. So we had a lot of changes. Luckily, we were ready for it, and we continued our trend through COVID-19 and so far. But I can see it was upwards. It was so different. Let me start with an example. So back then, in 20 years ago, or maybe 30 years ago, when you had a project and let's say west side, and you had to drive from Toronto to that area 4 or 5 hours to see the actual problem, the concern on the site. Now, then you had a smart mobile phone, so you could drive to another project and answering someone while you were driving to another site supervisor that you had on another site. And a few years later, you had the smartphone and Bluetooth, so you could drive safely while you were talking. And when I'm driving in highway, I have zero stress, because I can talk while I'm driving. So I'm doing two things at a time safely and address issues on the project. Now, again, a few years later, you have the tools. So you are sitting at home and you can see the project and address the project. No need to be there. And now, a few months later, since 15 months ago, now you are sitting at your desk. You have all the projects in a team meeting and a Zoom call, and then all site supervisors are there. This is how this is my daily life at AM every day since a few months ago. So I have the architect there, I have the client there, I have the site supervisors there, and we go through one project, and at the third project, we have an issue there. And this first supervisor, hey, I had that issue. This is a solution for that. And we can see, or the site supervisor, she or he can just flip the camera and show us, this is the problem, look at it. So and she will have the answer, he will have the answer right away there. Or need the size of that thing, the client will jump on it, I will give it to you in a minute. So everything changed. Again, I'm lucky that we had that ability, we had the technology there, but we didn't think about it. Oh, we can use this way too. Now we have it available. So basically, COVID changed it. The way we are managing, not finding the solutions, but how we are getting there and how fast we get. And you said how long? To what extent it's gonna remain? Let me answer that question right away. I don't know how to express it. Yes, it's gonna be there 100%, indeed, for sure, no doubt. It will be there. Right now, you wanna an example for it. For example, you wanna mix an all-purpose flour with egg in a huge amount. Will you do it with your hands? No, you're gonna use a mixer. So it will be there. Same as team calls. You have a problem. I don't want to be on site unless it's really, really urgent or something drastically you need your presence on the project. Why should I do that? I can arrange a Zoom call, a team meeting, call you with team and show it to me. I just want to see it. Oh, that's the problem. Here is a solution. I have the drawings here on my screen. Oh, I share a screen. Sharing screen is a huge advantage that we didn't have it before. Now, luckily the programs, the team and Zoom and Procore, they are updating them, so they are very resilient. So they're updating based on the needs on the system, especially last few months. So we didn't have the share screen option before. Now you have it, and right away on the screen, this is the drawings here on the other side. So it helped us a lot, and it's gonna stay. I mean, I'm expecting more. Back to you.
Yeah, access to that real-time information wherever you are and the ability to collaborate in doing so just sounds like it's really changed the game. So we've talked about throughout everything, kind of the day-to-day, how it's affected the labor force, vendors and employers in general. One area that I feel like can be a bit of a barrier to entry in deciding how to and when to adopt technology or tools that are AI ML focused is the ROI, right? How are you able to quantify and qualify the benefits this will ultimately have for you as a general contractor in adopting that? Niran, what would you say to a project manager, decision maker, a general contractor who's trying to make that leap to adoption? Because we've talked about how change can be difficult, right?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So we divide our ROI into three things right now. First is the day one, the data collection piece, automating the data collection piece in terms of how many people are there on a job site, automating your daily reporting, what are the key risks on the project, So automating that data collection or field is our first value proposition, which is, we call it like a super goes around a job site, counting the number of people and making a daily report. That's about 20 to 30 hours a week. We're saving that time. That's 20 to 30 hours of save week. The second we focus on is on the safety. Increasing safety risk, so increasing safety outside by becoming more predictable, using our wearables. So we've been able to reduce response time by about 92% in terms of how if there's an accident, or if even being proactive in terms of, okay, this is a high risk area, this is a high risk person, you can actually take proactive actions in terms of safety. The third is where the biggest ROI is in terms of becoming predictable in terms of safety. In terms of schedule and cost. So you have a massive airport that's being built right now. How do we optimize the schedule so that we can increase the productivity? What is your productivity rate? And managing number of people. Do we have enough people on the job site, or do we have more than enough people on the job site? Are they? So those are the three key variables. We've seen huge ROIs. 400% ROIs in. When we implement our software, and we have tiers of pricing where if you are a smaller GC, you can use a smaller version, and if you're a bigger GC, you're going to use the fuller version.
Amazing. Chris, I know you have thoughts on this. I know it's sometimes really hard to have the conversation of cost up front when there is value added that is a little bit intangible, right?
Yeah, I think one of the most important things that you can think about as you're making an investment, and you have to think about it as an investment, right? It's not a cost. You are investing in your business to improve your ability to perform, reduce risk, improve efficiency, drive value, right? And all of those things will, hopefully increase profits on projects. And so if you just think of it as a cost, and I'm going to go buy this thing, I'm going to use it for this project, sometimes it's very difficult to determine that it's going to have a huge ROI effect for you, right? But if you think of it as an investment like you would if you were out buying a piece of heavy machinery, a dozer, or a new backhoe, you don't look at what it will cost you for that project. You amortize that over the life of that piece of equipment. And so you need to do the same thing when you take a look at buying any sort of technology, right? And so while the cost may seem high at first, the returns that you can get can be exponential compared to the value added. Or as we like to say, the avoiding the car crash that now never happened because you put the company at risk because you didn't track a change order. Now you're not going to get paid for it, and it may cost you millions of dollars, right? And it's hard to put value to those type of things. So we tend to lean on the efficiency piece, right? How will this make my people more efficient, right? And so even if you just look at some of the ROI reports that Procore has done, our customers are saying that they're getting 30% more production out of their folks, and that it is helping them go out and get more work with the same staff that they have. So similarly, if you go out and buy a new backhoe that's got all the shiny bells and whistles on it, it's a little easier to control and has some automation to it, that backhoe operator is just a bit more efficient and digs that hole in 3 days to 5, right? And so you don't have to hire a second operator or get a second machine or go rent another machine so you can go and do more work. And similarly, if you put in place the right technology for your business, the people that you have today can go and get more volume. They can handle more projects. They can handle bigger projects. It can help you scale your business and grow your business. And I personally experienced this. The company I was working for before I came to Procore, we were about $150 million a year general contractor. And over the course of about 3 years, we scaled to about $300 million a year. And we didn't increase the number of administration staff that we had. So all the people that handled all the contracts, all the insurance, all the paychecks, all those things, that all stayed flat. And we were able to basically double the size of the business. And a big part of that was because of the technologies that we put in place, Procore being one of them, but things like DocuSign and MyCOI, all these partners that plugged in, and we were able to build efficient workflows. And you can measure that. Adding a couple of those people can cost you several $100,000s a year when it's a fully loaded rate. So you need to ask yourself, like, hey, am I thinking about if this is just a cost, or am I thinking about this as an investment to help me grow my business?
Love that. That definitely helps put perspective to it. And Milad, anything that wasn't touched on by either Niran or Chris and that you've seen in your day-to-day, from field to office, executive decision maker, all the way down to those who cut the checks, like Chris mentioned, that have shown ROI for you?
Yeah, I see the change. The effect on all, as I said, different parts who are involved in the project. A good example is the cities. So you had to pick up the permit drawings from the city, and that was an extra cost, and that was travel and time. And now they issue everything online and digital. And I had a project just, I think, 2 days ago, and the inspector wanted to have a hard copy on site. And I was saying, why do you want a hard copy? You're issuing everything digital. I have to bring it to the. It doesn't make sense. You have everything digital, have it digital on the site too. So that's a change day to day. It's right away changed my day when I have the permit in my hand by a few minutes, when you are being notified on Dropbox, on a cloud base, Google Drive, or whatever. I will have it, and as it will be everywhere. So that's the true answer. It's just a city. Now your client is treating everything differently, because it's affecting them too, same as GCs or trades. Everyone, health and safety. Niran and Chris covered everything. I can't add anything more. About the investment, it may look expensive right now, but through time, it's gonna give you back. It's same as a good example is Tesla car. You had a $150,000 car 5 years ago. Now you can get in $40,000 car, Model 3 that they have available. Now it was only Tesla. Now all companies, they are making electrical cars. So in the industry, construction is usually slow with technology. Now it's just catching up, same as the other industry. So it's got an investment, and it will return to you for sure. Not only for time as and the other expenses that Chris mentioned, also for mental health too. So you will have less stress. You are more comfortable because you have the information available right away. So you can manage smoother, and better. At the end of the day, more successful.
That stress piece is just massive, right? Like that's kind of on the back of everyone's in the back of everyone's mind as we're going through our day-to-day, trying to solve the problems that we do encounter every day. So thanks for that perspective. We're kind of nearing the end of our time, so quickly, I'd love, what we touched on is the fact that this is AI going away. Development will continue. For OGCA members who are here today, and in general, what should they expect and for future development, and how should they seek out more information on tools and construction from an AI perspective? Niran, would you step in on that one?
Sure. My internet was broken. Can you repeat that question once again, Lily?
Yeah, just saying that we're nearing the end of our time, so I wanted to kind of bring it back to the OGCA members who are here today. And in general, we talked about future development in AI and construction space. What else can we expect in the near term, and how can people continue to educate themselves, find information on AI tools in construction?
Yeah, I think the future is going to be drawing. Thanks for repeating that, Lily. But the future is going to be connecting other industries like insurance, like travelers, like your worker comps claim, with how we lower your worker comps claim, and how we can, tie it up with accounting and payroll management. And those are going to be the future opportunities of connecting multiple industries to get the benefit. And we've already seen that happening right now, where there's multiple insurance companies actually coming in and stepping into, partner with a solution like ours, where we have Procore has a great knowledge base. I think you can go there, and there's a lot of places where you can find information, like at quant.ai, you can find information about what we're doing. So happy to share more privately as well.
Love it. Chris, do you see anything kind of on your outlook on what changes might be coming?
Yeah, I think we're going to see a lot more predictive. And what I mean by that is someone saying, hey, look out for this. We're seeing something that is trending in a direction that's either good or bad. And the reason I think that we're going to see a lot more predictive is because we're getting to a point now where, we've got years of data in structured formats, right? We didn't have that 5 years ago. AI and ML, they're not new tools, right? The reason that they hit a lot of other industries first is because how long have people been using Gmail and typing emails? They have millions and trillions of data points to access. We didn't have that as an industry because we were so under-digitized, right? And as the shift happened over the last several years, it gave us this opportunity to collect more data in a meaningful and usable way. And so you're going to see companies use that information to improve products, to provide predictions, to match that data up from your project management system with your insurance carrier, with potentially your permitting department, all of these things to give you predictive, like, hey, you're still have a concrete pour next week, yet we're not seeing the plan reviews being done for that section of the building, and because you're tying all this stuff together. And I think that will be, if I'm betting on one thing in the AI ML space, is we're going to see more and more predictive over the next several years. I think natural language processing and computer vision, those are forms of artificial intelligence that are here, and you're seeing them in the underlying technologies that you're using today. I think predictive is something people are talking about. We're going to see execution.
That's awesome. That means continued good for the industry, right? More good to come. Again, we're very close to the end of our time, so I want to talk to the three of you for any closing remarks, things we might not have touched on that you're dying to share, or just in general how folks can continue to educate themselves on AI and construction and finding more information. Milad, any final remarks?
I was not sure who's the question is. Yeah, I'll go very shortly. It's just my fellows in Ontario, the other general contractors. To be more successful, you need to utilize. We have to use the technology, otherwise we will be behind. So we need to use this tool. The trend is that way. So it's an investment. These conferences, Symposium, it's gonna help us to find what's available for the others and what's in the industry. Sometimes the trades on the side, they see that we're using this software to monitor the health and safety situation, or QR code that we have for health and safety, how we are managing that. So, this is interesting. I will talk to my manager about it. And they just pass the information through. And they are coming. We are going. Some of them are some of us are pioneers. Some of them are behind. But at the end of the day, it's the whole industry going through. And all together, all general contractors, all together can affect the other parts, cities, architect, the other parties involved. So if we are together getting technology in our hands, bright future.
I love that. I love that you're not wanting to kind of hold on to the findings of inputs and efficiencies from the technology that you've adopted and gained from that. You want to share that with the industry and want your fellow design builders to adopt as well. Niran, any final thoughts from you on AI and construction in general?
Yeah, I think that it's exciting to see, we're talking about AI right now. 4 years ago, we were talking about softwares like platform, and now we're talking AI, and I think it's come a long way. And I think many people didn't accept that earlier, but I think it's we're excited to see where this goes. And I think eventually, we've seen that productivity declining all the time in our schools. They show us. I think it's going to now start going up, and and I think we're going to see a big change.
Definitely. Chris, take it away.
Yeah, I as I said before, I'm optimistic that this is going to be a huge change and a huge step forward for the industry and all the things that are coming out of a kind of bad situation. And so I think people will become more comfortable with this. It's very much like when I started to see iPads and iPhones show up on the job site, it was because people were using them in their personal lives, right? And so people are using AI and ML in their personal lives, whether they know it or not. They're getting more comfortable with it. And then therefore, we're going to see more of that heading to our industry, right? Because it doesn't have to be developed first for our industry. And so I'm optimistic that we're going to see this, this move into the industry more and more and make a very positive impact to the way that contractors do business.
Very well said. Excited to see what we're sitting here talking about 10 years from now, right? Well, again, thank you so much to all three. A great team. I love all the different perspectives where we sit within the industry. And thank you again to the OGCA, to everyone who's joined today, travelers as well. It's been a really interesting conversation. I hope folks have taken great to the way.
Lily, thank you very much for moderating. Milad, Niran, and Chris, thank you all for participating. Who figured we had a pragmatist, a realist, and how many people, by a show of hands, actually thought the former contractor was going to be the eternal optimist? Go figure that one out. But it's fantastic, nonetheless. Chris, your enthusiasm is contagious. Thank you very much. If we can bottle that, we can make $1 million by selling it. But I just want, again, great session, one and all. We have another great session coming up at 11:30. It's the CCDC2 ready for takeover, and they will answer all of your questions, CCDC related and document related. And that session is being sponsored by FCA Insurance Brokers, Weir Folds. And for the next half hour, I invite everyone to come into the lounge and network at one of the tables. It's a lot of fun. If you haven't tried it as of yet, I've been table hopping with an espresso earlier this morning at the first session, and I invite everyone to join in and just participate, see who all the sponsors are. And Milad, I hope that was coffee that you raised. I'm not quite sure, but anyway, with that being said, let's break now and go into the lounge. Thank you, one and all. We'll see you all back here at 11:30.